Okay, so get ready to have your mind blown, because today we are doing a deep dive into the human microbiome.
It's a fascinating world.
It really is, and I, for one, have been learning so much just getting ready for this deep dive.
I feel like the more you learn about this, the more you realize how much you don't know, right?
Absolutely. We have a ton of really interesting sources to pull from today.
You do.
Um, but before we even jump into all that, I think it's helpful to kind of set the scene.
Sure.
So imagine for a second a bustling city,
Okay.
right? But instead of skyscrapers, it's teeming with trillions of bacteria and fungi and viruses.
Wow.
That's your microbiome.
That's wild.
It's your own personal ecosystem living right inside of you.
It really is. And it's not just some passive passengers either, right? These microbes are actively shaping our health in so many ways.
And get this, we're actually more microbe than human when you count the cells.
That's a fact that always blows my mind.
Right. It's wild. So we're not just talking about gut health here, like we always hear.
No, definitely not. While the gut is a major hub, for sure, kind of like the Times Square of your inner world.
I like that visual.
Yeah, it's packed with diverse microbial species. But your skin, your mouth, even your lungs have their own unique microbial communities.
Well, if my gut is Times Square, is my skin more like a quiet suburb?
Exactly. Each of these communities plays a distinct role in keeping you healthy.
So just like in a city, the key is balance.
Exactly. When everything is running smoothly, these microbes, they help us digest food, absorb nutrients, and even train our immune system to fight off invaders. But when things get out of whack, that's when the trouble can start.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What happens when this balance goes haywire? I've heard the term dysbiosis thrown around,
Right.
but what does that actually mean?
Well, think of it like a garden that's become overgrown with weeds.
Okay.
They choke out the beneficial plants, and the whole ecosystem suffers. In the same way, dysbiosis is an imbalance in your microbial communities.
So the bad guys start to outnumber the good guys.
Exactly, and that can have ripple effects.
So we're talking more than just an upset stomach.
Oh, much more. Dysbiosis has been linked to everything from irritable bowel syndrome and obesity to anxiety, depression, and even autoimmune diseases.
Whoa. Okay, this is way bigger than I initially thought.
It's a powerful illustration of how interconnected our bodies and our microbes truly are.
So where does our microbiome come from in the first place? Is it something we're born with, or do we pick it up along the way?
Well, it's a fascinating journey that starts right from the moment we're born.
Okay.
Babies delivered vaginally get their first dose of microbes from their mother's birth canal, which helps kickstart their own microbial communities.
So what about C-section babies?
C-section babies have a different initial colonization experience, starting with microbes from the skin and the hospital environment.
So how does that affect the microbiome?
It doesn't necessarily mean having a bad microbiome,
Okay.
but studies have shown that C-section babies might have a slightly higher risk of developing allergies and asthma later in life,
Huh.
potentially because they missed out on that initial dose of mom's microbes.
That's incredible. So our very first moments in the world can have a lasting impact on these microbial communities.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. So what happens after birth? How does our microbiome continue to develop?
Well, many factors come into play if a baby is breastfed. They receive special sugars in breast milk that nourish beneficial bacteria in their gut.
Right.
Diet, environment, even exposure to pets. All these things continue to shape the microbiome throughout childhood and adolescence.
So it's nature and nurture working together to sculpt our inner ecosystem.
Absolutely.
What about once we reach adulthood? Does the microbiome pretty much stay the same, or is it still evolving?
It definitely doesn't become static. While it tends to stabilize in adulthood, our microbiome is still a dynamic and ever-changing landscape.
Makes sense.
What we eat, how we manage stress, where we live, even the medications we take, all of these factors can continue to influence the balance of our microbial communities.
So if our lifestyle choices can impact the microbiome, let's dive into one of the biggest ones, our diet.
Okay.
I know what we eat plays a huge role in gut health,
Right.
but how does it actually affect the microbiome on a deeper level?
You are what you eat, right? Well, that saying is especially true when it comes to the microbiome.
Okay.
The food choices we make every day have a direct impact on which bacteria thrive in our gut and ultimately which ones take center stage in this intricate ecosystem.
So spill the tea. What kinds of foods are we talking about here? What should we be eating to make those good gut bacteria happy?
Well, fiber is like a superhero for your microbiome.
Okay.
Fruits, veggies, whole grains, all those good things, they provide the fuel that beneficial bacteria need to flourish.
So loading up on those colorful, Fiber-rich foods is a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Ditch the processed stuff, embrace the rainbow of real food.
Exactly.
What else?
Don't underestimate the power of fermented foods. Think yogurt, kimchi. These tasty treats actually contain live cultures of beneficial bacteria that can add to the good guys in your gut and help maintain a healthy balance.
So it's like giving your microbiome a direct boost of reinforcements.
Exactly.
I love that. What about probiotics and prebiotics? I know we hear those terms all the time.
Right.
But what's the difference and why are they important?
Probiotics are essentially live bacteria that you consume, whether through supplements or those delicious fermented foods we talked about.
Right.
They directly add good bacteria to your gut.
Okay.
Prebiotics, on the other hand, are like the fertilizer for those beneficial bacteria already living in your gut.
Oh, okay.
They are types of fiber that your body can't digest, but your good gut bacteria love to munch on,
Gotcha.
helping them thrive and multiply.
So probiotics are like sending in reinforcements, and prebiotics are like making sure the troops who are already there are well fed.
Precisely.
Like that analogy.
It's all about creating an environment where the beneficial bacteria can outcompete the harmful ones.
Makes sense. What about antibiotics?
Ah, yes, antibiotics.
I know they're essential for fighting infections, but I've also heard they can be a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to the microbiome.
That's right. They are a double-edged sword. Antibiotics are crucial when you need them, but they don't discriminate between good and bad bacteria.
Right.
They can wipe out a significant portion of your gut microbiome, both the beneficial and the harmful kinds.
So even though they're fighting the bad guys, there's collateral damage.
Unfortunately, yes. And it can take a while for your gut to recover.
Really?
Even a single course of antibiotics can significantly alter your microbiome, and it can take months for it to fully bounce back.
Wow, I had no idea it could take that long.
Yeah.
So does that mean we should avoid antibiotics altogether?
Not necessarily antibiotics are lifesavers when you truly need them,
Right.
but it's about using them responsibly and only when absolutely necessary.
Okay.
Overuse can contribute to antibiotic resistance, making them less effective in the future.
Right.
And it can have lasting consequences for your microbiome.
This is all really fascinating. It sounds like we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what the microbiome can do. Where is all this research headed? What does the future hold for the microbiome?
What I find so exciting about this field is that it's constantly evolving. We're making incredible strides in understanding this complex world within us.
It really is incredible.
One of the most intriguing areas is fecal microbiota transplantation, or FMT.
Wait, is that what I think it is? A poo transplant?
It is.
Really?
It might sound a little strange, but it involves transplanting fecal matter from a healthy donor into the gut of someone with a severely disrupted microbiome.
Okay.
And you know what? It's incredibly effective.
Curiously, for what kinds of conditions?
Well, one of the most notable successes has been in treating recurrent C. diff infections, which are notoriously difficult to get rid of with antibiotics alone.
Wow.
FMT boasts a success rate of up to 90% in some cases.
A poo transplant can actually cure a serious infection.
It can.
It really highlights the power of a healthy microbiome. What else is on the horizon in microbiome research?
Personalized medicine is another really hot topic.
Okay.
Scientists are working on analyzing individual microbiomes to develop custom-tailored treatments for a variety of conditions, from inflammatory bowel disease to obesity.
That's wild. So you mean one day we might have personalized diets or supplements based on our unique microbiome?
It's not science fiction. It's a real possibility.
Wow.
We're even seeing research exploring the microbiome's potential role in cancer treatment.
Seriously?
Some studies suggest that the gut microbiome can actually influence how well chemotherapy and immunotherapy work.
Okay, now that's really mind-blowing. It sounds like we've only just begun to tap into the vast potential of this microbial world inside us.
Absolutely. And the more we learn, the more we realize just how crucial the microbiome is to our overall health and well-being. We're truly interconnected with these trillions of tiny organisms in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
This has been a real eye-opener, but I have to admit it's a lot to take in. So before we go any further, let's bring it back down to earth for a bit. What are some simple, practical things we can do right now to start taking better care of our inner ecosystem? What can we do to nurture those good bacteria and reap the benefits of a healthy microbiome?
That's a great question. And, you know, the good news is there are tons of simple things you can do every day to support a thriving microbiome.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm ready to pamper my microbes.
First and foremost, diversity is key. Just like a rainforest thrives on a wide variety of plants and animals, your gut loves a diverse diet.
Makes sense.
So make sure you're eating plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes.
Got it. So basically dips the processed food and embrace a more colorful plate.
Exactly. Think vibrant colors and different textures, and don't forget those fermented friends we talked about earlier.
Oh, right.
Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, all those can introduce beneficial bacteria and help maintain that delicate balance.
Noted. I'm already picturing a kimchi and veggie stir fry for dinner tonight. Okay, what about prebiotics? How can I sneak more of those into my diet?
Well, you're probably already getting some prebiotics through those fruits and veggies,
Packet.
but you can also find them in things like onions, garlic, asparagus, and bananas. And if you're looking for an extra boost, there are always prebiotic supplements available.
So diet plays a huge role. What about exercise? Does that affect the microbiome too?
It absolutely does. Regular physical activity has been shown to increase microbial diversity and promote the growth of beneficial bacteria.
So get moving. Got it. Anything else we can do to keep our gut buddies happy?
Well, remember those antibiotics we talked about earlier?
Yeah?
Being mindful of their use is crucial. Only take them when absolutely necessary and follow your doctor's instructions carefully. Overuse can really disrupt the delicate balance of your microbiome.
So eat well, get moving, and be smart about antibiotics. Got it. But are there any common myths about the microbiome that we need to bust?
Oh, there are definitely a few. One big one is the idea that all bacteria are bad. We're constantly bombarded with messages about killing germs and staying sterile, but the truth is, most bacteria are either harmless or actually beneficial.
Right.
They're playing essential roles in our health.
I guess it's easy to fall into that germophobia trap, especially with all the hand sanitizer around these days.
Another common misconception is that a super clean home is always a healthy home. While it's important to practice good hygiene, an overly sanitized environment, especially for kids, can actually limit their exposure to microbes, which is crucial for developing a strong immune system.
So let the kids play in the dirt once in a while.
Within reason, of course. A little bit of dirt never hurt anyone. It's all about balance.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. It's incredible to think about this entire universe of tiny allies living inside us, influencing our health in countless ways.
It truly is a remarkable ecosystem, and we're only just scratching the surface of its potential. But one thing is clear, taking care of our microbiome is essential for our overall well-being.
Absolutely. We've talked about how our diet, lifestyle, and even birth can shape the microbiome. But I'm curious, what about the flip side? How does the microbiome influence us? Could it be pulling some strings we're not even aware of?
That's a great question and one that researchers are actively exploring. We know our diet shapes the microbiome, but what about the microbiome's influence on our food cravings?
Okay.
Could those cravings be messages from our inner ecosystem nudging us toward foods that either benefit or harm them?
Hold on, you're saying my craving for a sugary donut might actually be my gut bacteria throwing a tantrum? That's kind of creepy, but also fascinating.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept, but think about it. If certain microbes thrive on specific types of food, it makes sense that they might try to influence our cravings to get what they need. Of course, it's not that simple. There are many factors that influence our food choices, from our genes and environment to our emotions. But the microbiome is undoubtedly part of the equation.
This makes me think about my relationship with my gut in a whole new light. It's not just a passive passenger anymore. It's an active participant in my life.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the microbiome is so crucial. It's not just about knowing which bacteria are good or bad. It's about understanding the complex interplay between our microbes and our bodies and how that relationship shapes our health.
This conversation has me wondering about my own microbiome. Are there ways to find out what's going on in there? Like, can I take a test or something?
You absolutely can. Microbiome testing is becoming more and more popular, although it's still a relatively new field. There are companies that offer at-home kits where you send in a stool sample and they analyze the DNA of the microbes present. This gives you a snapshot of your gut microbiome composition, revealing which bacteria are thriving and which might be lacking.
So it's like a census for your gut.
Exactly. And based on those results, you can get personalized recommendations for dietary and lifestyle changes that might help optimize your microbiome. It's all about working with your gut, not against it.
That sounds incredibly helpful. But is it really that simple? Can you really change your microbiome just by tweaking your diet or lifestyle?
The microbiome is incredibly adaptable. While we're born with a certain set of microbes, our choices throughout life can significantly influence which ones flourish and which ones dwindle. So yes, you can absolutely shift the balance of your microbiome through things like diet, exercise, stress management, and even exposure to nature.
It's like tending a garden.
Yeah,
You have to create the right conditions for the good bacteria to grow.
I love that analogy. And just like a garden, your microbiome needs constant care and attention. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm ready to start cultivating a thriving inner ecosystem. But before we wrap up, I have to ask, are there any risks involved in trying to manipulate the microbiome?
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about trillions of organisms here. Could we accidentally mess things up?
That's a valid concern. While research is advancing rapidly, we're still in the early stages of understanding the microbiome's full complexity, so it's important to approach any attempts to alter it with caution,
Hmm.
and ideally under the guidance of a healthcare professional.
So no DIY fecal transplants in the bathroom sink.
Definitely not. FMT is a powerful tool, but it's not something to be taken lightly. It should only be done under the supervision of a medical professional for specific conditions.
Good to know.
Hmm.
I'm all for empowering myself with knowledge, but some things are best left to the experts.
Absolutely. And remember, the goal isn't to achieve some mythical perfect microbiome. Everyone's microbiome is unique, just like a fingerprint. What's healthy for one person might not be ideal for another.
So it's about finding what works best for you and your unique microbial community.
Exactly. It's about working with your microbiome, not against it. It's about understanding its needs, nurturing its diversity, and supporting its resilience.
I love that perspective. It's not about conquering or controlling our microbes, but about fostering a harmonious relationship with them.
Precisely. And when we achieve that balance, it can have profound benefits for our physical and mental health.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of the microbiome, but I know we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to learn and explore. I feel like we've opened up this whole new world. And who knew there was so much going on inside of us all the time?
It really is mind-boggling when you think about it.
And, the fact that research is moving so quickly,
Right?
it just makes me think that, in a few years, we're going to know so much more about this than we do right now.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I find so fascinating about this field is that we're really just at the beginning of understanding the true potential of the microbiome.
Well, for one, I'm excited to see where it all goes. But for now, I think I'm going to go whip up a batch of that kimchi stir fry
Sounds delicious.
and give my good gut bacteria a little love.
Taking care of your microbiome is honestly one of the best things you can do for your overall health and well-being.
I totally agree. And thanks for taking us on this deep dive today. It has definitely given me a whole new perspective on what it means to be healthy.
It's been my pleasure. Always happy to talk about the amazing world of microbes.
And all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in to the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
Keep those good gut bacteria thriving.